In this video, we will talking about how to configure high availability and cluster resource scheduling in Sangfor Cloud. First, high availability. The virtual machine on shared storage can use the HA function by configuring detection conditions. When the host detects failure and persists for some time, it will trigger the HA function and resume the virtual machine operations to other hosts. Cluster resource scheduling. The cluster resource scheduling allows to schedule cluster resources in specific scenarios. In this case, the resource referring to virtual machines. We are able to configure CPU and memory thresholds, and when any host exceeds the threshold, the cluster resource scheduling will be triggered and migrate the VM based on the automation level. In short, which means the virtual machine will be migrated from a host with high CPU or memory utilization rate to a host with low CPU and memory utilization rate. Next, we will show you how to configure the HA settings. Go to Reliability, press on HA. Here you can select the VM monitoring sensitivity. It is low-medium by default, and the sensitivity for the node fail is 5 minutes and the VM will be migrated. We will select medium in this case. The sensitivity for medium is 2 minutes. Below here shows a table for migration triggers. For example, when the management interface and edge connected directly or via switch is normal, but the storage is failure, the HA will be triggered. On these two scenarios, you are able to press on the icon for more information. Scenario 1, different interfaces used as edge-connected interface and overlay network interface. If the edge-connected interface failed, the host will not be able to access endpoints outside of the cluster. But the overlay interface will be unaffected. HA is recommended when access to endpoint devices outside of the cluster is necessary for business. However, if it is not necessary, HA is not required, as business system in the same cluster will not be affected. Scenario 2, same interface used as edge-connected interface and overlay network interface. When the edge-connected interface failed, the host will not be able to access endpoints outside of the cluster as well as VMs running on other nodes. HA is recommended when access to endpoint devices outside of the cluster and VMs running on other nodes is necessary for business. However, if it is not necessary, HA is not required if the VMs running the business system are on the same node. In this case, we will enable both scenarios for HA. Press Save after all configurations. The HA is successfully configured. Configuring cluster resource scheduling. Go to Reliability, press on Resource Scheduling. Tick the checkbox to enable resource scheduling. Here you are able to configure the automation level. If automated is selected, the virtual machine will migrate to another node automatically if the resource scheduling is triggered. If manual is selected, it requires manually apply the migration. You can select which resources to monitor, such as the CPU only, memory only, and CPU or memory. Here is to select the trigger percentage when the selected resource exceeds the percentage. We will put trigger when the host CPU usage exceeds 70%. The sensitivity level have two modes, which are conservative and aggressive. The difference is one trigger when the resources exceed trigger percentage for 10 minutes and 3 minutes respectively. The conservative level is recommended. We will keep it as default. Here you can select whether to prefer to migrate the VM to the node with a VM replica. We will keep it as disabled. Then, if you wish to configure individual VM settings, press on the settings. Press on New. Select the virtual machine. For example, we want to select this group. Press OK after selecting. Here you can change the automation level for the selected VM. We will choose disabled. Press OK after the configurations. Lastly, press Save after all configurations. The resource scheduling is successfully enabled now. In the end of this tutorial, we have learned on how to configure high availability, different scenarios for high availability, how to configure cluster resource scheduling,